Ruben Amorim refused to do something Erik Ten Hag was forced to do after 2 games at Manchester United. Manchester United are 14th in the Premier League, and Ruben Amorim has admitted it is really clear they are in a relegation battle. Manchester United are 14th in the Premier League, 7 points above the relegation zone with just 1 win from their previous 6 league outings. Cause for Ruben Amorim to rip up Plan A and start again? Absolutely not. The Portuguese's brief is clear. Bring a style of play to the club and make Manchester United successful again. The main problem Amorim has encountered during his opening months at the club is that Manchester United do not have the players needed to implement his preferred 3-4-2-1 formation. Arguably, the only player to have flourished in the system is Ahmad. The Ivory Coast star has the attributes needed to thrive as a dynamic right wing-back, but a lack of suitable options in the number 10 role has seen him pushed further up the field, and he's looked far less effective when playing behind the striker in recent weeks. But that won't stop Amorim trying to mould this team. Multiple transfer windows and hours on the training pitches will be needed, but the Manchester United head coach has a vision, and it's up to the players and the club to support him. It takes a strong character to weather the storm and refuse to deviate from your principles. And while there is little to cheer about at Manchester United these days, fans should be encouraged to have a manager at the helm who truly believes in himself. In his own words, it doesn't make sense to change approach now, even if things do look bleak. Amorim certainly isn't the first Manchester United manager to have his methods questioned. After the 4-0 thrashing at Brentford 2 games into his Manchester United reign, Erik Ten Hag was forced to abandon his Ajax philosophy. He admitted after a 3-0 hammering at the hands of Manchester City the following season that his Manchester United side were playing different football than I showed at Ajax because I have to, because I can't play the same way. The players decide how you play. Despite claiming his quote was misconstrued just weeks later, he again admitted he had been forced to change his style of play. The irony of the whole situation is that being proactive and being able to adapt is a key part of management. But for far too long, Manchester United have looked like a team bereft of an identity. There were always going to be teething problems when Manchester United appointed a head coach with such a distinct style of play. Nobody knows whether Amorim will be the man to take Manchester United back to the top. But one thing we do know is he has a plan, and that's something Manchester United have lacked for far too long. Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher deliver brutal Manchester United assessment after Newcastle loss. Manchester United were beaten 2-0 by Newcastle on Monday night, and Gary Neville didn't hold back in his assessment of his former club following the defeat. Manchester United legend Gary Neville has launched a blistering attack on his former club, labelling them the worst pound-for-pound football team in the country following their disappointing 2-0 defeat to Newcastle United on Monday night. The Reds are currently languishing in 14th place in the league after dropping points in 5 of their last 7 matches across all competitions, and Ruben Amorim is struggling to make a mark since replacing Erik Ten Hag in November. Despite Marcus Rashford's return to the squad following Amorim's pre-match rallying cry, he was not called upon when Joshua Zirkzee was substituted early due to an ineffective performance, much to the ironic delight of the Old Trafford crowd. Sky Sports pundit Neville didn't mince his words, criticising the fans' brutal reception of the Dutch newcomer before giving a harsh assessment of the team's overall condition. Amid boos, Manchester United's loss, confirmed by goals from Alexander Isak and Joelinton, ensured they would end the year outside the top 6, a first since 1989. Among Amorim's errors was choosing a midfield duo of Casemiro and Christian Eriksen. It has become evident that Manchester United's experienced players, now past their 30s, lack the physical strength to compete with the energy of most Premier League midfields. Despite this, Amorim opted for them as a central pair, only to be overwhelmed by the opposition's dynamic duo, Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes. During half-time on Sky Sports, Liverpool legend Jamie Carragher commented, "We were speaking about that on this show 18 months ago. That is on the manager. These players can't run. We know that. That is on the manager for putting those 2 players in that position, in this system, which has a major flaw." Carragher highlighted that the space on either side of the midfield pair was huge, and they couldn't cover it. a mistake that should be clear to a manager with Amorim's experience. The later introduction of Kobbie Mainoo provided some improvement, but the damage had already been done. In a daring move just after the 30-minute mark, Amorim decided to substitute Zirkzee. Although Zirkzee had been ineffective, failing to challenge Newcastle from the left wing of Manchester United's attack, the crowd's reaction as he left the field, eventually returning with his hood up, couldn't help but stir sympathy for the player who had become the unfortunate scapegoat. Amorim must tread lightly to avoid upsetting a player that Manchester United invested heavily in over the summer, regardless of fans' views on his performances in a red shirt so far. Rashford, despite being back in contention for Manchester United after voicing his eagerness for a fresh challenge, found himself an unused asset as the Reds faced Newcastle. He watched on from the sidelines as newcomer Rasmus Højlund faltered in leading the line. Amorim overlooked Rashford when he pulled Zirkzee off the pitch just past the 30-minute mark and instead introduced Mainoo to reinforce the midfield. Then, around the hour, Alejandro Garnacho was chosen to take Casemiro's place. Antony, whose performance has largely been underwhelming, was summoned to take over from defender Matthijs de Ligt when less than 10 minutes were left on the clock. The decision to include Rashford in the squad yet not utilise him raises questions. The defence, meanwhile, was caught out again, with diminutive Lisandro Martinez often looking vulnerable. He lined up in a three-man defence with Harry Maguire and de Ligt, but struggled against the physicality of Isak and Joelinton. Newcastle capitalised on this, with Isak overcoming a stationary Maguire and Martinez to head home, and Joelinton subsequently dominating the air against Martinez for the second goal. Carragher didn't mince his words, saying, "Martinez has been awful. He has been caught out more in a back three than he was in a four." After receiving a yellow card at the 65-minute threshold, Martinez promptly made way for Leno Yoro. De Ligt also departed soon after, as Amorim rejigged his tactical setup once more. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updates and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to stay on top of the latest news. See you in the next one.